Welcome to A2Council Update, a recap of the Ann Arbor City Council meeting on April 15, 2024. This meeting included comments and discussion about allocations in the fiscal year 2025 budget, a charter amendment and feasibility study for municipal public power, rezoning of parcels at Riverside Drive, vacating and transferring property rights at State and Eisenhower, and the acquisition of easements for the construction of roundabouts on Nixon Road. This is the voting chart for the council meeting on April 15, 2024. All agenda items were approved unanimously. You can find this voting chart and more information about this meeting at A2Council.com. Like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. The meeting included a presentation from Matt Carpenter of the Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority.
So on May the 6th, we will be launching the new Route 104, the Washtenaw Express. This is the Ann Arbor to Ypsilanti downtown to downtown express route. We are well into our work on zero-emission bus propulsion. We've chosen fuel cell electric hydrogen-powered buses as the preferred mode of propulsion for us going forward, along with latest generation hybrid diesel electric technology so that we don't have to wait for the perfection of the hydrogen economy to begin reducing emissions. And then finally, an update. About 10 years ago, we tore down and rebuilt the Blake Transit Center here in downtown Ann Arbor. We are finally moving to do the same thing for the city of Ypsilanti.
After introductory remarks, public comments, and staff explanations, Council discussed agenda items for about 5 minutes. 17 people signed up in advance to offer public comments. 5 people spoke to topics on the agenda, and 4 people spoke in support of budget funding for Rising Hope for Housing. This week, City Administrator Milton Dohoney presented his budget for fiscal year 2025. The budget will add 20 full-time employees. Compared to 2024, the anticipated budget will increase recurring expenditures by over $9 million and add non-recurring expenses of over $5 million. In order to cover these expenditures, the city administrator will be depleting over $2.5 million from the city's fund balance. At a work session on March 11th, the significance of this fund balance was explained.
You see the one-time revenue and expenditures, which are possible because in fiscal year 25 we have exceeding recurring revenues. However, we still then have to stay in compliance with our fund balance policy, which is the 15 to 20% of recurring expenditures in the general fund. And you'll see here that each year we are reporting above our required minimum fund balance. However, we typically are actually running right around 20%. It's really a reflection of timing the expenditures across fiscal years.
This week, Milton Dohoney presented some details from his budget, including investments in planning and infrastructure.
So we have in this budget funding to do the sanitary sewer comprehensive planning process, stormwater comp plan, the water distribution comp plan, the non-union compensation study, the urban tree canopy assessment, and as you know, our overall comp plan is underway. He
described renovation of the city's water treatment plant.
In order to replace it, it is an expenditure of in excess of $100 million. Even if you wanted to, you could not replace it all at once. In this budget, we have invested money to operate the pilot. We hope to secure funding from the federal infrastructure bill in order to make it happen.
He shared an update on the new election center, purchased last year with money previously allocated to the Housing Commission.
We are inserting the operational cost of that facility into the budget. What we are still waiting on is funding from legislatively directed discretionary funding to do the build-out.
He enumerated projects from the Office of Sustainability that are to be funded with revenue from the Climate Action Millage.
We expect to break ground for the Wheeler Center Solar Park if everything falls as we hope. That will take place in September. We do expect in FY25 to reach our goal of 10,000 trees. Planting trees on private property to enhance our equity and resilience. We are also proposing to begin an EV charger discount program later in the year that will be available for both commercial and multi-unit developments.
He described initiatives aimed at improving customer service.
Today, assessors are out in the field conducting inspections. They can only do so many because they have to get back to City Hall to upload their information. By having the tablet, you can upload the information from the field. We will be adding temp staff for fall compost collections, and we're going to be adding 3 entry-level planners. So in the planning department, we have 2 people that will be retiring. 57 years of institutional knowledge walks out the door with them. We're going to replace them with entry-level planners, fresh perspective.
He referred to a past council's request for an ombudsman that would provide oversight and accountability to the community. He explained why it was not necessary.
We were asked to study putting an ombudsman in the government. We brought in an EMU fellow to do research on it. We looked at ombudsman's programming in other cities with other types of organizations, and the conclusion is we do not need an ombudsman for the total government, because in many areas it would simply be duplicative. You're simply adding another layer of bureaucracy. Where we have heard and where we have seen that we need to do a much better job as it relates to permitting.
He discussed funding for snow removal.
This budget will invest $500,000 to contract with the private sector so that they can start on the local streets initially while we are clearing primaries. We are also investing $100,000 in a piece of equipment to clear snow out of bike lanes.
Oh, yes.
It'll be a dump body, it'll be a salt spreader, we'll be able to do liquid tanks on it, which means that's what you use for pre-treating before the snow actually falls. And we are buying a 9-foot wide wing plow.
He proposed spending on a feasibility study for a municipal power utility. Earlier in the meeting, public commenters offered perspective about this study, as well as a proposed charter amendment to facilitate a sustainable energy utility.
We're simply asking you to ensure that the proposed sustainable energy utility charter amendment is designed so that it leaves the door open for future synergy with a municipal grid that distributes power to the whole city.
Hi, my name is Matt Bossart, and I'm a PhD student. I study the electric power system. I'm here to voice my concern over the specific language which is being proposed for an amendment to the city charter as part of a ballot proposal for the SEU. The language specifying that the SEU will be opt-in, fee-based, and only deliver renewable energy is simply overly restrictive and specifically excludes an MEU, which, if it were to be established, as the sole load-serving utility would not be opt-in by definition.
Things like opt-in and fee-for-service don't sound bad in and of themselves, but if that's not how you legally or accurately describe a universal utility. Let's be clear, the minute we slow down or take our foot off the accelerator, DTE will put its foot on the brake. Without a clear alternative that the people can take back this franchise, progress on renewable energy is going to be very, very difficult.
We're funding a study that is going to look at the feasibility of an MEU. On the other hand, we're talking about a ballot proposal that actually goes in the opposite direction and will not allow there to be an MEU. Why in the world would we not write the ballot proposal so it could accommodate both?
Mr. Dehoney explained the feasibility study for municipal power and how he will pay for it.
The consultants that we hired advise that it'll cost us $1 million. We are working on a transaction. I've been in discussions for a little bit of time with the developer that will lead to an air rights transaction. We were approached about a development at 616 South Forest that needs air rights. They made us an offer of $1.2 million. We hired an independent appraiser to assess the value of the air rights, and the appraisal matched exactly what the offer is.
He then explained plans to move forward in response to 4 resolutions approved unanimously at the April 1st council meeting.
One of those resolutions called for the creation of an Office of Economic Development. With this budget, we are proposing to establish an Economic Development Director and an Economic Development Coordinator position. We do not have the capacity to devote every single waking hour to economic growth. Hiring someone that gets up every single day with a singular purpose will allow us to move closer to the direction that you've given us. A truly skilled, experienced Economic Development Director is not cheap.
Mr. Dehoney referred to other projects, including the tree-lined trail.
And we have been supporting their efforts to secure a $2 million acquisition piece of funding to advance it.
Improvements to the current train station.
In order to do that, it's rebuilding Depot Street at Depot Street, not at another site. But we need state or federal help to do that, and so it's on the list.
A new fire station.
So we have fire stations that do not have appropriate quarters for female firefighters. That is unacceptable. You're only going to fix it when you build a new firehouse, because then you can program all of that in.
And substance abuse support at homeless shelters.
So the $150,000 will represent helping that person, but also providing funding for the shelter itself. And I want to set this up where the contract is running from like October to April.
As he did last year, Mr. Dehoney set aside money for the City Council to allocate.
There is $1 million untouched, left for you to consider what to do with it.
The consent agenda this week included 5 items and expenditures of about $2 million. Nothing was pulled for discussion. The consent agenda was approved unanimously. Without any discussion, Council unanimously approved 3 ordinance amendments at first reading, increasing water rates, stormwater rates, and sewer rates. The average residential customer can expect to pay 6% more for water and 3% more in stormwater and sewer rates. At a future meeting, these increases will be the subject of a public hearing and final approval at second reading. Council then considered rezoning of properties at Riverside Drive. The parcels were previously township islands. The owner requested zoning of R1A. City staff recommended that these parcels be zoned R1B in the interest of consistency with surrounding land use and the opportunity for more comprehensive planning in the future. Staff offered information to the city's planning commission about the number of homes that would fit on the parcel, depending on the zoning category. Both the original request for R1A, allowing 1 home, and staff recommendation of R1B, which would have allowed 3 homes, were set aside by the City Planning Commission. This week, Council considered the Planning Commission's recommendation of R1D zoning, which will permit the construction of 6 homes on the 0.74-acre area. R1D zoning is explained in the Unified Development Code as requiring a greater degree of services than staff recommended zoning of R1B. Ahead of the meeting and in answer to written questions, staff explained that there is no water or storm sewer service provided to this area. This week, staff explained about the possibility of waivers and stormwater impacts related to the R1D zoning category.
Depending on the development approach, utilities may need to be run to this site. For example, a waiver could be considered by the city to provide water by use of a well without the extension of water and infrastructure to this site. This would likely be most effective with a lower pattern of density of development. For stormwater runoff, a lower density of pattern of development would likely enable stormwater to be addressed through on-site measures without the extension of infrastructure to the site. As density increases in this area, more impervious surface would likely increase the need for construction of stormwater infrastructure to serve the sites when it could no longer be accommodated on-site.
Without discussion, Council unanimously approved, at first reading, the rezoning of parcels at Riverside Drive to R1D against the recommendation of city staff. At a future meeting, the rezoning will be the subject of a public hearing and final approval at second reading. Council considered the release and vacation of roadway rights at State Street and East Eisenhower Parkway. These areas of land were set aside in 1972 and 1973 with the expectation that State and Eisenhower might one day need to be widened. City staff explained that further widening is no longer contemplated. The property at East Eisenhower is transferred with the expectation that a future easement will accommodate sidewalks and utilities. Oxford Properties have requested the rights to this land in order to facilitate redevelopment projects. The city charter currently requires 8 votes to approve property transfers like these. This week, Council unanimously approved both, without discussion. Council then considered a liquor license for Uplift at 210 South 1st Street. Uplift describes itself as an LGBTQ-forward bar and will operate from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m., Tuesday through Saturday.
It will have everything you could want. Non-alcoholic things as well as beer, wine, seltzers, standard cocktails, craft, and regular non-alcoholic beverages, and hot food.
I'm really excited to see this moving forward, and I just wish Uplift all of the success, and look forward to visiting at some point in the future as we continue to gather as a community.
Council unanimously approved the liquor license for Uplift. After a brief introduction, Council unanimously approved amendments to the Main Street Social District. In their longest discussion of the night, Council spent 3 minutes discussing the acquisition of easements on Nixon Road to accommodate the construction of multiple roundabouts. 3 roundabouts will be constructed at Sandalwood, Blewett at Mead, and Traver. A new median and buffered bike lanes will be added in both directions as part of the Nixon Corridor Improvement Project.
DeVeron and Nixon. And when this came in, moms who lived in Ward 2, including myself, went on joyrides and that roundabout. We love that roundabout. Let's have more roundabouts. I'm really excited to see this come into fruition finally, and I look forward to joyriding the next roundabout with Councilmember Watson.
The meeting adjourned before 9 p.m. For more details about this meeting, visit A2Council.com.
Welcome to this week's A2Council Moment of Zen.
All in favor? All opposed? The agenda is approved. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. All in favor? Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. All in favor? All opposed? The minutes are approved. Discussion of C1. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Discussion, please, of C3. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Discussion of DS1. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Discussion, please, of DS2. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned.